You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Acolyte discussions here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. Donovan and Andrew are back again. We are joined once again. You may know him from the Nerd Academy podcast. You may know him from Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. Jarod the Dark Jedi is back once more.
I'm back, baby. I'm here. I'm happy to be talking. Man of many projects, Nerd Academy, Epic Confrontations, Ionized Bastards, Pro and Noob podcast. It's like when people ask me to be in things, I can't say no.
So we are here to talk about Day, the fourth episode of the series. Our immediate theory that this next episode's title would rhyme with last week's was thrown immediately out the toilet because Day is not the opposite of Destiny. But I think next week's might be called Night, so we're going to keep going on this theory and go from there. So nothing weird at all happened on the internet this week after this episode.
No,
nothing's happened weird at all.
Fandom, as it normally does, handled a piece of utterly benign trivia in a completely normal, healthy, functioning member of society way. And not a single weird thing was caused by a little bald man with an ego to rival his little fucking dick.
We'll get to that. It feels like every week there's something with this show. We're playing a guessing game of what it's going to be. And can we just talk about the show in good faith? That's all I'm fucking asking for. We literally spent so much time last week talking about last week's episode and the way that it seemed like it was the most offensive thing in the world for a certain portion of the fandom. And now here we go again. So it's just like, can we get a full positive episode? Well, we love the episode, but, we got to talk about this crap too.
The issue here, and Molly Damon pointed it out, and it's something I've been talking about too, is that, every week has had a new faux controversy du jour, and they've all been dumber than the last, and as it has been this entire time, and again, I say this, I did a 2-part episode a couple years ago that I'm very proud of to this day, with mutual friend of all of ours, Alden Diaz, the Fandom Menace and how we got here, and it's very much like a if the shoe fits thing. Like, if you don't like the Acolyte and you take offense to people talking about the crazy people who don't like the Acolyte for asinine reasons, then maybe you need to look in the mirror if you get offended by that statement, because clearly you're not being talked about if that doesn't apply to you. But if you think it applies to you, then that's kind of a self-report, because, just like with the sequel trilogy, it was never about race training. It was never about Rostico's dialogue. It was never about any of that stuff. And now here with the Acolyte, again, there's a controversy du jour every week. It's never been about fire and space. It's never been about knives. It's never been about lightsabers. It's never been about Anakin's creation in the way that a bunch of people don't actually understand how that worked in Legends, not canon, Legends. And now a whole lot of people who aren't me are pretending they ever cared about Ki-Adi Mundi. It's every week it's dumber and sillier than the last one, and it's because the veil and the dog whistles are getting they're putting less and less effort into it.
No, I've seen the most vile shit in certain people's replies. Like, they're not even hiding 100%. It anymore. And again, let's just reiterate. We are not referring to people that simply just don't like the show. That is totally fine. There are things that I didn't like or I haven't liked about the show. They're the big thing that we're talking about this week. I'm still not sure if I like it. I'm going to wait to let it play out. And that's how I think it needs to go. But again, Molly Damon hit it right on the head. People who decided before the show even aired that they weren't going to like this show are finding something new to complain about every week. And this is just It's the icing on the cake because it doesn't matter, and we will get into why it doesn't and why it's so stupid and why your theories and worst case scenario bullshit would never happen in a million years. But we'll get to that because on a week where Star Wars Twitter was both simultaneously the best and the worst it's been in recent memory.
This rises and light to meet it, baby.
Yeah. It's like we need. Speaking of which, thank you to everyone that joined us and is new to the community. We crossed 300 followers on Twitter on the podcast account. So thank you for joining us. So many new friends here. So if this is your first time listening, welcome aboard. Hope you stick around and you have some fun because we got some fun Star Wars to talk about. We got some Who's That Sith to play and some fun things to get into.
Who's that Sith? I just had to do it.
I know who it is.
I think I know who it is too.
But before we get into that, it's time to have some cursed fun because we have a segment we have on this show that we like to call the Jedi Archives.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
So this, if you're new to the show, is essentially our podcast Hall of Fame. Each week we nominate something Star Wars related, the loosest of ways at this point, and we put it to a Twitter poll to decide who is the winner each week and gets to have that week's inductee into the Jedi Archives. Now, last week I had to tack it on at the end of the episode because I forgot to do the segment in the middle of the episode. So that's totally fair, but we had a stacked list of nominations, and our winner is your boy Yariel Poof, is the newest inductee into the Jedi Archives. Thank you, Linz, for nominating Yariel Poof.
I just love. Can you throw the graphic back up?
Yep.
I forgot that I was the second person to do this, and I got fucking Soul Calibur 4 in there.
You sure did.
That's just how it works here. We have Savvy with the first vote, and then you come in with Soul Calibur, and then Jacob Bausch comes in with one of the most cursed things I've seen in Star Wars. It's nuts. The first few weeks of that were crazy.
My favorite is Alden's George quote, where it's like, COVID, people lived in bunkers for 20 years.
It's so very George, for sure.
It's so very George. But
I also have to mention, I cannot be more happy that Yariel Poof has made his way into the archives. Oh, I guess we did win that vote.
Yeah,
I guess it's my job to go get the pizza now.
I'm just disappointed you let that scumfuck Markion Rowe on there.
It's not Markion, it's Phil Noto's drawing.
It wasn't my decision.
Okay.
It wasn't my
valid.
decision. I was absent that week.
Don would not have let that slide.
I hate a bitch named Markion Rowe.
I
hate a bitch named Markion Rowe.
I hate a bitch named Markion Rowe too.
All right, so Jared, you've been telling me all day that you have your archive nom prepped. So what do we got this week?
I do. I have my archive nom prepped because, unlike a number of people on the internet this week, I have been a Ki-Adi Mundi fan for almost as long as I've been a Star Wars fan. And one of the biggest sources of my Ki-Adi Mundi love is a Star Wars comic run by the name of Outlander. A story that not only introduces or not only shows us some great adventures of Ki-Adi Mundi, it gives us some really fascinating character development for him. Because, we all know Ki-Adi Mundi as that arrogant, literal dickhead who is patently wrong a lot.
Every single time he speaks.
And
what about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
He didn't miss on that one. Mm-hmm. But
rare W.
Well, rare Ki-Adi Mundi W. But when you miss out on Ki-Adi Mundi, when you don't get to experience stories like Outlander, like the Hunt for Aurra Sing, like Envoy to Malice, is you get to see that Ki-Adi Mundi is a Jedi who is very convicted in his beliefs. And, yes, we see him just be flagrantly wrong a lot. He is also somebody who is willing to listen, so long as that you're willing to listen to him. Is that transactional? Yes. Does it make him a fantastic diplomat? Not necessarily, but it does make him a compelling character. And this comic has such wonderful things as Ki-Adi Mundi and his really cool samurai hat. Let me find a page with it.
Oh, he has a samurai hat?
Ki-Adi Mundi.
Sounds dope.
Ki-Adi Mundi and his dope-ass hat.
Okay, that
Mundi, his dope-ass hat.
Oh, I love that.
That does actually look really cool.
Also the introduction to one of my favorite Legends character, Asherad Het, and his father Sherad Het. It's also our first time seeing the Legends version of Aurra Sing, wherein she is an ex-Jedi and now famed Jedi hunter. There's just a lot of really cool, very Legendsy stuff in this book. The problem is that most people who heft Legends as a cudgel with which to shit on the new canon have not actually read these stories. They get them from a YouTuber who got them from a YouTuber who got them from a Wikipedia article. Funny that.
The irony, yeah.
The utter irony of that whole kind of transmutation of knowledge.
But remember, they were always firmly established canon, and George never once said that he never read any of the books, and he...
Yeah. He never once like literally bottled it off and said, you know what, that's its own thing. I don't really pay much attention to that. He would only he wouldn't at all take just like trace elements from a few things that he liked and just leave the rest because that was the writer's thing and that was his thing. Like, the movies were his thing that he was focusing on, and Legends was filling a lot of the want for like other Star Wars content, but it was in a lot of ways its own thing, and a lot of Legends was having to adapt to the other films. So even in Legends, the canon would often get quite shakier, one could argue, than we are seeing here.
Objectively, there were things that just flew in the face of each other. The amount of Legends writers who had to do fucking cartwheels around Jaster Morel, Muriel, or however the hell you say it, because of Attack of the Clones. Yeah. And again, George would never ever change something from Legends, like the fact that Ki-Adi Mundi had a purple fucking lightsaber.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
look at that.
Crazy. Or the fact that two of the Jedi in this comic wield red lightsabers.
Oh yeah. Is one of them Adi Gallia?
She does in this comic run, but that was Sherad on that page. But it's almost like George would on a whim change things. And let's not mince words here. The frustration is not that the canon is being changed; it's being changed by somebody that these anti-fans consider to be less than and unworthy of being able to create Star Wars, and that's the fundamental issue here. But again, actual story about Ki-Adi Mundi, where Ki-Adi Mundi actually has a character, and that his age and useless trivia about him isn't the crux of it. So my nomination
sounds
for the archive,
like a fun fucking book. Is this the Six Wives story, or is that a different?
It is not the Six Wives story. I know all that art is in the same art style, so it probably happens in like this, like the following arcs. But yeah, Star Wars Outlander.
All right, so
I mean, he does have like I'm pretty sure one of those covers had like a John Carter influence, which feels weirdly appropriate for Legends Ki-Adi Mundi, I must say.
Yeah.
So my nomination is a lot more happy, and it's something I saw yesterday, which was Daisy Ridley with the Rey actor at Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, that's just that was adorable.
So Daisy Ridley at Disneyland is my nomination because, as you guys know, I love this character, and I love Daisy. I will see anything that she's in. She's one of my favorite actresses, and what the character of Rey means to me. And I know certain people that were already upset by what Jarod said probably just clicked off the video right then and there, but it's okay because I'm going to keep going. I love this character, and this is just so pure to me. Like every time, I guess I have a special soft spot for when Star Wars actors go to Galaxy's Edge, like Amanda Stenberg going there before the Acolyte even came out. I was like, this fucking rules. And then Daisy with I'm like, oh, the best tour guide I could have asked for, and then be like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm in the the best ride at Disneyland still. I'm like, all right, I love this. Give me the new Jedi Order film right now, please. Just, I need it.
I've heard like literally Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy has been talking about it in interviews and talking about how she's like how they are putting so much effort into wanting to make sure this is like the next like that they want to put so much effort into continuing her story, so much thought and effort and stuff. And considering how the production of the sequel trilogy got rushed, and so they weren't able to perhaps put as much like thought and time into like as they might have wanted into progressing Rey's story, it means a lot.
I mean, yeah, please
to
take your
know
time,
that they're gonna,
but also,
yeah, like
I want it right now. I'm
yeah,
being
like
selfish. So,
like,
yeah, Daisy at Disneyland with the Rey actor is my nomination this week because it warmed my heart, and I needed that this week.
It's just great. It's just
So-
it's just like it's like the Star Wars community coming together against all of the bigotry and hatred. And since I'm gonna add on to this anyway, like I'll just add like one of my favorite things about seeing this was seeing how many people like came together, and that whole kind of trend of like reintroducing ourselves to Twitter and all that kind of stuff. It was such a lovely moment. It almost felt like a sort of spiritual rebirth, because obviously I'm not going to be naive enough to say that, oh, look, all the negativity is going to go away now. It's not. We've still got all the grifters and actual anti-fans like hanging around there. But, by the way, anti-fan, really good term, Jarod. I'm taking that one, if you don't mind. But yeah, it was just, it's a really nice thing, because I'm not the biggest fan of the Rise of Skywalker, but one of the thing that has always cut through for me and is always like registered as a rock solid gold line is there are more of us. And it was true then, and it's still true now. That
it rings big in fandom these days.
All of the angry fucks, let me be honest here, and the grifters who try and just wear people down, they are a minority. They're a very loud and very obnoxious minority, but it is a minority. And at the end of the day, there are a lot more of us who just enjoy hearing each other's opinions and expressing how we feel about stuff like Star Wars and interacting with each other, and just generally getting the vibe of like what a fandom is supposed to be about. So yeah, it was a really tough time earlier this week seeing all of the hatred, but it was equally encouraging to see all of the love and togetherness and the resistance, if you will.
Absolutely. With that, what is your nomination this week?
Okay, I will admit I am somewhat relieved that you went with Daisy Ridley and Rey.
Yeah.
I was really worried you were going to pick my nominee. So I'm going to stay like relatively close to this episode, and I'm going to nominate Bazil for this episode of the Archives, because I have to. Like, the little guy just like took the fandom by storm when he debuted, even like before he even appeared in the episode. But like when those stills came out, I was like, oh, yeah, I like this little.
It was when the Funko dropped. I was like,
this little guy.
What is that? Like, I need him. And then the stills came out, and I was like, what is this guy? And then he lived up to the expectations. Coincidentally, you don't see Bazil and Darth Teeth in the same room at the end.
No,
So
he's piloting the Darth Teeth body like the little alien from Men in Black.
It's like the reverse of my theory about Sid being CX2 and Bad Batch.
We're gonna stop that right then and there.
I hate a bitch named Markion Rowe, and I also hate a bitch named Sid.
I had to make sure I included that in my little welcome back Star Wars Twitter thing. Like, I hate Sid, and I want to find more people that also hate Sid.
So you've been victimized by this Trandoshan too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Basil's a great character. Like, already, he was the design is really cool. He's that perfect kind of like thing of like he's just this weird little dude, weird little alien design in Star Wars. By the way, the creature designs in the Acolyte so far have been superb. You can really tell that Neil Scanlon is back, continuing what he did with the sequel trilogy rather, and giving us all these awesome new alien designs that really authentically feel like they belong in Star Wars. But yeah, Bazil, great little dude. Oh yeah, last thing I'll say about Bazil, his performer is the same performer who piloted R2-D2 for Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to pull his name up very quickly because I don't want to not mention him. I believe his name is Give me a sec. Yeah, guess what? I'm using Wikipedia for this because, like all of us here, I love and appreciate Wikipedia for all of the great work that they do, and I'm not going to treat them with horrendous abuse. Much love to all of you guys at Wikipedia. You know, the work you do, the awesome thing you have created with this database. You know, most of us would not be able to like do the podcasts and stuff that we do without you. So yeah, brief little
to a fucking website. That's all.
Again, I will very brief tangent. If you think it's okay to send death threats to people working a fan community site simply because they changed the date of
they did the thing that they're supposed to do.
You mean the thing they've done for fucking
Yeah.
years?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you think that's okay to do that when they're just doing their job, then you need to seek professional help. You need to step away because, quite frankly, this kind of shit is not for you. If you're gonna like respond with that level of hate, then and refuse to take accountability for your actions, kind of like a certain YouTuber, then my response really sadly is going to be go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
we don't want you in this fandom.
I have the name up right here. I believe his name is Hassan Taj, is how it's pronounced.
Hassan Taj. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. I was going to pull it up and then I had to go on that tangent and just to get it out of my system.
I believe it's pronounced Tynans. They were a legend species introduced in 1979. So I thought they didn't like Star Wars. I thought they didn't know what they were doing.
I thought all the people who worked on the Disney shows hated Legends. You know, like again,
I thought that Leslie Headland wiped her ass with the pages of the new Jedi Order books.
Oh, like there's so much Legends in this series as well. Like
the Kotor species in the very first freaking episode.
Yeah.
But again,
she wants to do an Old Republic series or film. Like, come on!
Oh, I want to see that happen so bad.
There's so much Legends in this. It's awesome.
So much. Again, this is. Don't take our comments and our anger at certain aspects of the discourse as us disregarding Legends. It's far from that. It's I guess we just have a sane grasp on how to handle change and the fact that we know that these stories aren't canon begin with anymore.
It's just
and it doesn't affect the story at all.
It's here's the thing. And again, there are two ways to combat the grifter bullshit. And I think you need to do a little bit of both all at the same time. There needs to be a acknowledgement that it's never been about Ki-Adi Mundi's age. It's never been about fire and space. Okay, last week they did us a favor by making it abundantly clear what they took issue with, because the butt of every joke was lesbian witches. That was the end of everything. Every single complaint came down to lesbians.
Yeah.
Happy fucking Pride. It is just full-throated homophobia. So you need to acknowledge that you're not actually angry about the thing you're saying you're angry about. We're getting back to like 2016 days of like how to engage with weirdos on the right. Like we're going back to this is how you fight back against the Daily fucking Wire. Like we are regressing in how we have to explain the rhetoric to people. The other strategy that I think is very important is going, this was never actually your problem, but here's why you're still fucking wrong, and let's play make-believe that this is actually what you're saying. This is how you're still wrong. And, you know, I missed when a lot of people became convinced that any of Legends was meant to be taken as sacrosanct at this point. There's been a lot of stuff that has come back into canon. There's been a lot of stuff that has gotten grandfathered back in. At no point has there ever been a decree that they were doing it's still canon unless we say otherwise. That's never been the thing. And even if that was the case, there's still no reason to be angry, because we need to give these storytellers liberty to do what they want. So if we want to take they're shitting on George's vision thing, I will bet my life and the rest of my paychecks in perpetuity that George Lucas at no point ever actually said nor gave a damn about how old Ki-Adi Mundi is. I will also go so far as to say that there is nothing, again, to suggest that we knew the average lifespan of a Saurian in canon. There's nothing there to suggest that.
And that's been the trend recently, is them extending alien life species lives. Like Miri Allen's, Vernestra was 15 in the High Republic books, is now well over 100. No one has an issue with it. Everyone was totally fine with Yariel Poof and Appa Rancisis being in the High Republic. Everyone actively wanted the Keldor in this episode to be Plo Koon. But this is different.
No, and that's the other thing, is that like everybody was, well, let's just bullshit the Keldor lifespan.
Because of one line.
Keldor's in Legends. Keldor's in Legends barely crack 60.
Is that meant to be like the explanation for why they're so endangered?
The Keldor? Like
yeah. Oh no,
species?
Keldor. Yeah, no. Sorry, no. I got them mixed up with Saurians there. Sorry, no. Keldors, they barely crack 60, and I think they live longer potentially now.
I don't fucking know.
No, exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah, like that's the thing with the Keldor. Like again, so many people are like, oh, Plo Koon. Okay, cool. I don't fucking care. Sure, maybe Keldor is a bajillion years old. I don't give a damn. I do not give a damn. But the faux outrage, and again, and he's not fucking Voldemort, Star Wars theory, fucking Nyatus, okay, did his shit on that live stream where he starts going, oh, and look how they changed it. They thought nobody would notice. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, maybe you didn't say the words, go after Wikipedia for this, but you clearly painted them in a light as though they were doing something actively antagonistic towards the fandom at large. And we need to start having conversations about these types of like stochastic hate campaigns, the same way we talk about like assholes like libs of TikTok. Like, yes, the stakes are much lower than bomb threats being sent to pediatric hospitals because Chaya Rychek is spreading disinformation about them doing like transition surgeries on like little kids. That's it. Like, again, the stakes are wildly different, but it's the same tactic. It's the same tactic of I'm going to use hyperbolic language to talk about a like not even a half truth, like an eighth truth about a situation to rile a bunch of people up and then play stupid when those people that you worked up into a frenzy go ape shit. It is inherently dishonest and it is inherently cowardly. Yeah. And his response had me going fucking berserk, because if you truly, if you take umbrage with the fact that people sent you all of these threats and sent all of these hateful messages towards you and to your family and to former partners, that's reprehensible. It's beyond the pale. It's heinous. It's unacceptable. No matter who is issuing the caustic statement and who the recipient of it is like point blank, end of discussion. It is wrong. It is reprehensible. There is nobody to be taken seriously who would argue otherwise. You have the opportunity to take the high road here and understand the gravity of your platform. I don't care. Again, and he's doing this whole thing where he's like suing to sue Wikipedia. Give me a fucking break. But like,
oh no, I almost want to see him try just to like see him get slapped down. Like that's never gonna fly in a court of law. It just won't. Like, dude, you will have to prove that your followers did not attack Wikipedia, which means, if anything, the onus is more on you to prove that your followers didn't go after Wikipedia.
Yeah, and you can't prove a negative. And you can't prove a negative.
Yeah.
And it's not only that, but it's riling up your base, and let's just call it that. We'll call it his base, and using the language like, oh, they say if we don't like it, we're just ists and phobes. Do you know how racist and homophobic that alone sounds?
Yeah.
Like, even if that's not your intention. And I'll be naive and say that he doesn't have any shitty ass opinions on minority groups, and he just doesn't like Disney Star Wars. you gotta realize how you sound at points, dude. Like, I know you're
Exactly.
not this dumb. Like,
No.
I know, like, you got this platform for a reason. You made people, you made content that people gravitated towards and connected with. People value your opinion, whether they should or not.
Exactly.
Different story. They value your opinion. If people that listen to our show start attacking people, I would be like, yeah, guys, stop that fucking shit.
Don't
Like,
do it.
that's not
Like,
what we represent here. We're here to talk about a franchise we love and to bring on other people that love the same things that we do and talk about that. We are not in the business of spreading hate. We're in the business of combating it. We're in the business of suppressing it. So again, if you have a platform, and I saw someone say, oh, well, you know, he's got such a big platform, he can't possibly moderate comments like this. You see people with way larger platforms than him do just that.
Oh, so, for sure. Like, it's
like,
it's void as an argument.
At some point, I'm not saying it isn't enough. Like, you have to just straight up say, stop. And he knows that if he says that, people are going to turn against him. So,
and that's my biggest problem, is that it is cowardly. Like, that's the thing. That's what bothers me more than anything else, because it's like, you know what, if you know, I'm not even gonna like judge the dude. Mostly, I know I'm not a fan of Star Wars theory in terms of like his attitudes and stuff. I kind of tipped over into disliking him the minute he started hanging out with folks like Ryan Cannell and Geeks and Gamers, people who are active grifters and who just farm hate traffic and just say the most vile shit just to get clicks. You know, him associating with them is bad enough, but refusing to take accountability for what your followers may very well have done, and refusing and telling people to go F themselves if they dare to insinuate that you might have unintentionally caused some shit. You know, dude, you got to do better. You have to do better in your position with the followers you have, with the base that you have, the influence that you have in the Star Wars fandom, potentially the way you can affect what certain outrage addicts like to get mad about. You have to do better, because if you don't do better, then it's very easy for people to just kind of jump to the conclusion that you are actively riling people up, in part to make a quick buck off of it, because thanks to Twitter's messed up algorithms now, people can literally get paid for gaslighting folks and riling people up, and the result is like chaos and a lot of unhappiness for a lot of people, which is awful. And that's why people like that need to be held to account and pointed out that no, you can't just dodge responsibility, and you can't just threaten people with lawsuits. You know, that's not how like decent human behavior works. You know, it's crap.
Okay, so the Jedi Archives. Our nominees this week were the Star Wars Outlander comic featuring one Ki-Adi Mundi, Bazil, who has taken our hearts by storm, and my nomination of Daisy Ridley at Disneyland, interacting with Rey.
This little guy.
So those are our nominations. We'll put the Twitter poll up shortly after this episode drops, and that's right, you, our listeners, can decide on who goes in the archives this week. I'm going to be devastated if the second time I try to put Daisy in the archives, she doesn't get in.
Oh, you're winning this one. I
don't think so. I think Don's got it.
I don't know. Bazil, I don't think Bazil's any match for the ray of light that is Daisy Ridley.
But then last time we had you on when we were doing this, Jared, I didn't think you had it, and you
Soul Calibur 4 ran away.
People are nostalgic for Soul Calibur 4. I'm nostalgic for Soul Calibur 4. I liked that. That was a good game.
So getting into the actual episode,
yes.
We start off, and immediately I'm intrigued by, we see Kelnacca's hut on Khofar, and we see all the little like markings that are very reminiscent of what you saw on the Coven, and they look a lot like the tattoo that Mae has on her forehead. That came from the ritual, and you can just see like how much she's been engulfed in this. And it's like, is he trying to learn more about the Coven? Is he just haunted by that night? And like, we clearly, like, we have a piece of what happened on Brundock. Hashtag what happened on Brundock. But we don't know the full story yet. So
gotta keep at it. Like we don't know.
We gotta keep it going. We're
keeping that hashtag.
Brundock truthers around here.
We're keeping it going, damn it, until
I'm not believing what they're telling me. So like we gotta.
They're putting stuff in the water that turns the witches gay. Rah, gosh. Some of this crap.
Folks, what you need to understand is that the Jedi involvement on Brundock is a false flag to make us believe the Galactic Republic is in the hands of a Dark Lord of the Sith. The funniest Alex Jones clip that it is.
It's him describing the prequels for me, man.
It's the clip.
It's the one time he unironically cooks.
And what's deeply funny, Andrew, you're one of the many people who every time that clip goes viral on TikTok, and it goes viral on TikTok all the time, everybody sends it to me. And the thing that breaks my heart about it is that the funniest part of the clip is always omitted. Because you get mostly Alex explaining the plot of the Phantom Menace. He's like, Viceroy Newt Gunray. Well, that was before his voice was completely fucked. And he talks like this now. Back then, he was kind of doing like a Glenn Beck impression. So it's more like this. So it's a little bit higher pitch with a little bit of a rasp. He's like Viceroy Gunray and the other Trade Federation. It's very funny. But the best part is when he compares Count Dooku to Osama bin Laden. It's the funniest part of that clip.
He's a political idealist, not a murderer.
He's literally Count Dooku, the Osama bin Laden counterpart, and and it's never in that clip. It's never in that clip, but it's the funniest part. It is the funniest part.
Oh my god!
Anyway.
I didn't even know Alex Jones talked about. That's the weirdest thing.
You gotta watch the clip after this.
We have an
Alex Jones talks about Star Wars all the fucking time.
Oh,
all the fucking time. The best clips on Knowledge Fight are when he goes on which is podcast. It's like documenting Alex Jones and his insanity and debunking him. It's why I know so much about Alex Jones. But as a disclaimer, I'm not a regular InfoWars viewer, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, like you just force levitate some Brain Force Plus pills like interview.
Brain Force Plus was an impressive pull.
Let me tell you about this amazing.
I have H Bomber guy to thank for that.
That makes sense.
Construction of that
male vitality, but
probably should like him and Paul Joseph Watson and that shithead. Probably should have checked.
Clown. Probably
should have checked the label there, Paul.
But no, he'll talk about it constantly. And I don't know how Lucasfilm hasn't sued him for this. He uses the Imperial March as his bumper music all the time.
Oh,
he will come back from break and it's da, 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 da. It is June 22nd, 2024, 55, 300 days on the election and occupied Texas. All the time. He'll use that. He'll use Duel of the Fates. He'll use the Doctor Who theme.
No.
All the time. It's bizarre.
I feel insulted.
He went on this long tirade about how Greg Abbott, the asshole governor in Texas, he was comparing him to Darth Vader and was playing the clip of Vader killing the Emperor and talking about how Greg Abbott's in the pocket of the globalist vaccine, but this could be his opportunity to turn back from the dark side. A whole thing. Anyway, I'm sorry. I've hit all the Jarod boxes. I talked about Kendrick Lamar earlier before we started. Now I'm talking about Alex Jones. I bitched about Legends. I'm the worst guest.
You're playing all the hits. It's what you're here for, dude. It's great.
I'm sorry. I'm never gonna be invited back to the show.
It was so because we saw how this affected Torben and the fact that he took the Barash vow and how he isolated himself. We see this with Kelnacca in a different way. They mention back on Coruscant that no one's had any contact with him for I think they said a year. So he's clearly, and I like that we're seeing how it's impacted the Jedi that were on that mission. And Soul very clearly has some emotional baggage too.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen all of it yet.
Yeah.
So I like that we're getting a glimpse into all of them.
I was going to say just quickly, I kind of got a vibe of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I've seen part of season 2 of I've seen up to halfway through season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it kind of reminded me of Agent Coulson getting the after he's brought back, he's got that uncontrollable urge to write down the symbols. It almost makes me wonder if maybe just like the witches messed with Torben in the episode Destiny. Did they perhaps mess with Kelnacca's head? And that's like, and because we've seen the clip of him attacking Torben, so maybe
we know there's more flashbacks coming.
Yeah, we know there's more flashbacks.
I think that's a really interesting angle, Donovan. I think that what I find fascinating is that, you know, Soul clearly has this overwhelming guilt about the situation. It is, and it's something that makes him fascinating, you know, that so the best Star Wars characters at their core are defined by the ways that they ignore their own ideology. And I think that's very true in Soul, that you find him, you know, doing all we first meet him, you know, don't trust your eyes, they can deceive you. A very Star Wars thing that's immediately followed up by him being so certain no one could have survived that fall. I watched her die. Stuff like that, you know, but that he clearly carries this great weight that, you know, he is very much like you're like it has a very valid Rushmore argument by the end of the show, I'm sure, of like that, like most Jedi to ever Jedi, right up there with like Qui-Gon and Rey and whatever.
Yeah.
That and Ki-Adi Mundi. That like he gets it on a fundamental level, but he can't stop centering himself in the Mae case. He cannot stop putting himself at the center of, I need to be the one to bring her in. I need to be the one to make this right because it's bothering me so much.
Yeah, Vern's like, I don't think you should do this. And he's like, no, I have to do it.
No, I have to do it. I have to be the one to bring her in. Yeah, like very much. And he's very like, he's so centered on it that it's very clearly a case of both caring for Mae and Osha, but also a sense of guilt that, for what happened on Brendock.
What happened on it?
And what happened on Brendock. And so, you know, we see obviously with Torben that like he is so devastated, he takes the bearish vow. And like we again, like I don't think we talked about this enough when it happened. We got a live action on screen suicide. Like that's heavy.
That's dark. That's dark. That's one of the darkest
really
things.
Fucking dark.
Yeah,
you know, and the way that he does it, gleefully is not the right word, but he is just so like resigned and like,
he'd rather end his life than admit to what happened there.
And that he is so at peace with, this is obviously the right thing to do. And that there is that you also get to this point where Torben is presented, and this is a very macabre angle on it, but you also get to this point with Torben where he is presented with two like weirdly selfish decisions, where it is absolve yourself, gain the forgiveness you so clearly need, or get to institutionally absolve yourself, get to fess up to it and, you know, face the Jedi Order and all of its, you know, soft touch philosophy of how to deal with bad actors. You know, but like at the end of the day, he chooses a punishment he clearly thinks he deserves, to no longer like walk the world of the living. That's really heavy. So we see that's how far gone he is. We don't know how much it has affected Indara. There is a very good chance that Indara was like, yeah, that mission went like belly up real fucking fast. But like, so it goes, life goes on. She has that very above it all Luminara Unduli vibe.
Yeah.
That when we come to Kelnacca, his brain could have been like permanently fucked up by what happened on Brendock, both magically or just to the point where like it's all he can think about. It's all he can think about, that he becomes like, you know, we joked about Alex Jones there for a moment, but there is that like, you know, that obsessive compulsive, like all I can think about is this one thing that happened. And like, I have to like map it out and I understand every scintilla of it.
Yeah.
That like that could be the place that he's in. And, you know, it is the tragedy of it all that, you know, Kelnacca, much like Torben, was like, something bad happened and I should not be a part of the Jedi Order because of it anymore.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Kelnacca, the Wookiee Jedi? It's not a story the Jedi would tell you.
No, because they're going to cover all this shit up.
Yeah,
There's my conspiracy. But
so what I liked about the beginning of the episode, and I saw some people not be too big of fans of this, of the editing style, but going back and forth between Coruscant and Osha and then Mae and Qimir on Khofar, I really liked how the episode flowed. I thought it was nice to get those two contrasting perspectives, and we get Qimir nudging Mae a little bit more, like, oh, what does he mean by can't kill without a weapon? What does he mean by that? What are you going to do? And we start to see, but
whilst lugging a very suspicious
his helmet-shaped bag.
Yeah. Like, what do you got in there, buddy?
What do you got in there, buddy?
What are you lugging around there, pal?
But we start to see the subtle cracks in Mae's mission and her anger, her goal and her anger. Because now that she knows that Osha is still alive, it kind of changes the perspective. And we see...
I love that. Sorry, can I just say...
Go ahead.
I love that because it's something that I was not expecting at all, because we've seen Mae so resolute, so resigned to her goal. Like, it's such a personal thing for her. Like, we've seen her when she confronts Torbin and Indara and Sol. Like, there's so much emotion behind it. Like, she's been so determined this whole way through, and yet the minute she learns about Osha, it shakes her to the core. I love that we have got this kind of development, because I kind of felt like maybe after the third episode that Mae was going to be the more kind of like simplistic character in terms of her motivation and her personality, compared to Osha with like her conflicting feelings about her sister and the Jedi going forward. But what's really cool is that Mae is completely shaken and is fully doubting the mission now, and it's kind of taking her in a position I didn't think we'd see her in by this point in the show. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, if perhaps my theory is true that they might even trade places in terms of light and dark, because of Osha is still very much in the dark about what happened on Brendok, and whereas Mae is becoming equally disillusioned from her potentially training to become a Sith, which is just fascinating. It's something we've never really seen in a Star Wars story.
Yeah, I her like constant love, like, this is impossible, and kind of like, there's no way it's impossible. Or when she's pressuring him, like, oh, have you seen the Master? It's like, I haven't seen the Master. I'm like, yeah, because it's you, pal.
Yeah, like he missed a trick from Yoda there. Like if he had, I suppose he didn't want to look too suspicious, but if all he had to say was, yeah, that's why you're failing, because you think it's impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen so many people compare what Qimir's do. We could get if Qimir is Darth Teeth, which he is a dead ringer. This idea that like he is doing this like dark inversion of Yoda's first lesson to Luke. That is like, you underestimated this kind of bumbling, goofy guy, only to find out, no, he is this great Jedi Master, where this is this kind of perversion of it, where it is, I am actually this like arch villain right in front of you. Like, you are so lost and so caught up in all of this darkness that you don't know what's happening. And it is something that I think, I think the most interesting wrinkle in Qimira's Darth Teeth is that I think on some level Darth Teeth led Mae down this path with the promise of avenging her sister, and the what, where, how, and why of all of that could become interesting if, has this been a since childhood thing? We kind of entertained this idea on the most recent episode of Knights of the New Republic, that this might be taking, again, because Leslie Headland hates Legend so much, that this might be taking a page out of the Force Unleashed's book. With that whole, now granted, the Force Unleashed was very ambiguous as to whether or not the Emperor and Vader were both like mutually agreeing to believe a lie, so that they wouldn't have to go to blows. But that whole like, oh yes, you took this secret apprentice so that we could train him to make him create a rebellion so that we could get them all in one place and kill them all. And that was our plan the whole time. Right. Right. We're just going to both agree that this was the plan so that we don't have to kill each other. Okay, cool.
I meant to do that.
I meant to do that as well. Like but there could be an angle to that here where it's, that Darth, because I am very much in the camp that Darth Teeth is not the Sith Master. I am very much.
I have been shouting that since episode 1. Like, I think for sure he is the apprentice, because it's like you
he's
said,
an apprentice recruiting his apprentice and muscle to help take out the Master.
Oh yeah, no, it's why his plan is so reckless, because it's like, why would he do any of this? Reveal himself to the Jedi in this way?
Badly want all the people that are like, oh, she hates Legends, for the last episode of the season to reveal that the Master is Tenebrous, and then them see and then just be like,
dude,
well, they've ruined him now.
well, shit.
Now I'm going to pretend I ever had an
guy.
opinion about Darth Tenebrous. Like,
who I looked up was in besides from the Darth Plagueis novel, one comic in Legends, and people act like if you erase him,
isn't he? He's a Bith, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a Bith, and he trained a Bith as his extra apprentice.
Oh my god! I desperately want him now to show up, just because he's an evil Bith, and it's going to be so funny.
Those same people. Oh, this looks stupid. You're going to tell me that this guy's a Sith?
Why is he one of the Cantina aliens? That's stupid.
And
then he does something really evil, and everyone forgets about it because they're like, "Oh yeah, that's actually kind of scary."
But yeah, so I do think that there are some like, oh, let's see how this happened wrinkles with Qimir. Like there's nothing that exonerates him, and a lot of the evidence points towards him. But yeah, no, I do really like that. I also love Mae's face turn a lot.
Yeah.
I think what makes it so fascinating again is this idea is if I will train you to become a Sith Lord and I will give you all this great power, but to prove your ability to do this, I need you to take on the most personal mission you could ever take on. And after you achieve this victory and snuff out these 4 Jedi Masters, then we'll talk about like a Darth name. And I think that's really, really cool. And to see her go, wait a minute, I don't need that revenge. And I think it also betrays something about Mae that I've found fascinating from the very beginning, is that a lot of Mae's strategy in taking out these Jedi relies on her knowing how well-natured they are. And it's a very interesting paradox because we see her with all of this, all the gusto of like, the Jedi would not attack an unarmed person. Yes, you would. Yeah. Okay, so you believe that to your core. You also knew the only way that you could kill Indara after the stalemate you were in was by going after that bartender. And you also knew that Torben would not put up a fight. You also knew that when you told Torben, hey man, here are your options, let's play ball, that he accepted that. And if there was not some part of Torben that wasn't guilt-ridden, that wasn't obsessed with making this bad decision right, he would have just floated down and put her through the window. Exactly. But he didn't. She's relying on that. And you see Mae recognize again, but this time in like a much more positive light, where she's like, no, I can go to the Jedi because unlike my master, they will show me mercy I do not deserve. That she recognizes that, and that she's having that aha moment of maybe the Jedi trespassed against me and my family. However, they contain multitudes. And that she's understanding, like, look at this soft touch that the Jedi have used with you up to this point, despite the amount of them you've killed or have tried to kill.
Yeah.
Like, that carries a lot of weight. So to see her be like, no, I can go to them and I have information that's super important. They'll understand. I've seen some people be like, oh, like they think Mae's bullshitting Qimir to maybe make him show his true colors. I think she believes what she's saying. I think she believes what she's saying.
It was when she sprung him up.
Here's my thing. I think she believes what she's saying. I don't know if this turn back to the light is going to be permanent or not.
Oh, we don't know. I don't know if it'll stick.
I don't know. I have a feeling that she's going to, once Darth Teeth fucks some shit up, I have a feeling she's going to bend the knee again.
Unless Darth Teeth makes off with Osha instead.
Oh, we kind of interested with Rey.
Oh, he seemed kind of interested in her, like a little bit. Like, I don't want to. Can I just
say, even though I knew she wasn't dead, when he ignited his saber, I was like, "Oh shit! Did he just kill Osha right then and there?"
I thought he gutted her for a moment.
Like totally. Like I don't want to jump ahead too much, but like that scene, it was solely because that scene was terrifying. Like the whole scene was genuinely scary, and we haven't really got that from like Darksiders. Well, actually, no, that's bullshit. Sorry. That's like a proper horror scene. Like, and I think what's really cool is that Leslie Headland has very clearly taken. And the other writers and directors were very clearly taking from how Darth Vader has been portrayed, because this guy ain't no Kylo Ren. He's no petulant man-child. This is a scary ass Sith. Okay. This dude, like the fact that he just the fact that this guy. Like Kylo Ren is like intimidating. I wouldn't call him like he's not like horror movie villain scary the way that Vader is. Like the scenes with Vader are just like something else in terms of like horror movie kind of presentation.
This is one of, if not the scariest villain introductions we've ever had in Star Wars.
The way he like floated down behind Osha, I was I genuinely.
That's weird, even though it's happened.
Like I watched that and I was like, oh no, that's wrong. I don't like that.
Not to keep talking about fucking Star Wars theory, but I love how he's like, yeah, well, like they've done it before in Tartakovsky Clone Wars. Motherfucker, Darth Vader does it in Empire Strikes Back. Darth Vader starts fucking flying.
You're like, remember that?
The bitch flies like goddamn Batman.
Remember that like scary ass moment where Luke falls down the damn stairs and Vader just like flies down? I remember
it's horrifying.
It terrified me as a kid. It was so scary, and this is scary as well. Like because this is the thing I really like as well. It looks unnatural. Everything about the way this guy moves, the way he glides down, the way his head moves. Yeah, like the little like jerk of the fingers to send Osha flying, and then the little like head snap, like it's so horror movie villain-esque, and that's perfect for a Sith, like for this kind of Sith, because everything about it is unnatural, and that goes along with how the dark side is. It's a perversion of what the Force is. It's like people twisting the Force into something unnatural, and it's just really cool. It's like I'm both fascinated and like a little bit scared by this guy, and that's great.
Well, the thing that I love about the horror movie monster angle is that, you know, and we've seen that comparison to Vader more times than we can count, especially in the new canon. That, and I say this very much as like a horror layman, Darth Vader is like Jason Voorhees. He is this unstoppable force of fucking death. Like there is no ammunition or, you know, and any type of resistance you can put up to this thing. It is going to barrel down on you and deal death to everyone in the room. And that is a specific kind of horror archetype. Meanwhile, whatever the fuck Darth Teeth is doing, like it feels like a demon that just crawled out of hell. Like the Vader horror movie comparisons are very valid. But the thing that I love that distinguishes them is, again, you have that like Jason Voorhees, like unstoppable slasher thing with Vader. Whereas like Darth Teeth, like slowly levitating to the ground. And again, like the jerky force push and the way he whips his head around when the Jedi try to bum rush him. Like it looks like the scene in Hereditary where Toni Collette's crawling on the fucking ceiling.
Oh,
like that's what it feels like. That like it's that different flavor of like horror, of like unstoppable death dealer, like unnatural creature from the like ninth pit of fucking hell. It's unnerving in a way that
it is so
unnerving. Thing I think we've had to it in Star Wars, to bring it back to Clone Wars, as I often do. Lair of Grievous and
him
most
like
recently
around.
Grievous in that first scene of Tales of the Empire.
Run!
I think a scene that single-handedly changed my opinion on Grievous right then and there in the new canon.
I'm so happy to hear that.
This fucker works again. I'm so glad that we're at this point. Because we haven't fully talked about Tales of the Empire yet on this channel.
Oh, well, that's coming.
That's coming when we have the time.
Indeed. But can I just build off of something Jarod was going to say as well? Because I'm going to call back to something you mentioned, Andrew, which was that, you know, Leslie Headland is very much of this new kind of generation of like, she's from the generation that grew up with the prequels and Legends. And what I think is really appropriate about how her and the other writers, they've kind of looked as in a sense at like, how to present this villain. And I do think Jared's like onto something when he says like, just as like Vader was this kind of like of the time like horror movie monster like Jason Voorhees, very much so of that era. I feel like with this Sith, with Darth Teeth, or Smilo Ren as we like to call him sometimes, he is very much of the new generation of like horror movie imagery, because, you know, the horror movies today tend to be stuff like Hereditary, like Insidious, or The Conjuring, like these things about like demonic imagery and these creepy, like impossibly contortionate like creatures that just like usurp people. It's so unnerving.
Normal beings shouldn't move like that type shit.
Exactly.
Leslie Headland did. I don't know if it was her or one of the other people that are like heavily involved in the creative process of the show, talked about how they were very inspired by different movies making the show, and like, oh, there's going to be an Alien episode and a Predator episode. It's like, is Dark Teeth like a Sith xenomorph? Is that like what
he's
we're
got the fucking chompers for it?
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It kind of looks like a xenomorph helmet. Like this is the thing. It should be the dopiest thing ever with the smile, but it looks
works.
So damn
it
creepy.
But it works. It's
so creepy. I'm really worried we're going to be in for I don't know. We might get another flashback next week. I think next week we'll probably stay on focus. I'm really worried we'll get like the closest thing Star Wars has come to like an actual slasher movie. I'm really worried he's just going to be like picking these Jedi off one by one because like there's quite a few Expendables there. And we might even lose one of the main ones. I'm really worried about Sol and Jackie.
No.
Do you want to hear my like grotesque horror theory on that?
Go on.
Because with those, I think Joseph Scrimshaw joked he called them like red shirt Jedi. Those no names are all gonna die. And let me tell you, I think they're gonna show us how much of a vicious monster Darth Teeth is by giving us one of the most gruesome kills we've ever seen in Star Wars. And I'm calling it now. That Keldor's mask is getting ripped off.
Oh no, that's gonna be brutal.
Again, and you know, I talked about this on KNR this week, and Alden was like, "You're just a sociopath." I don't know why you'd think that.
That sounds like something Alden would say.
Yeah, I know. I'm back in my Cookie Cop era, but. I truly think like there was a decision made, and again with Leslie Headland being someone who loves Legends, who understands like take that mask off of Keldor, they're gonna die a horrible fucking death. that is the worst way to go if you were that specific species, and that like you put that specific alien on the battlefield, opposite of again this. Like crawled from the bottom pits of hell Sith Lord, that it's like, yeah, let's show how vicious he is. Rip that mask off. And again, like, and I don't know if I ever would have let my brain go to that place with the Star Wars project if again 2 episodes we didn't watch somebody commit suicide.
Yeah, like
that's the thing. Like this show is not afraid to go to a deeply dark, fucked up place.
Like they're not afraid to do horror stuff. Like the Obi-Wan show literally had Vader snap a kid's neck. I never thought we would see that.
Again,
we would go to that kind of a dark place.
Vader the Empire literally just had Lynn massacre an entire fucking village on screen.
Yeah,
scary. Yeah, they're not afraid to go to a dark place at all. And I think you're right there because a bunch of those Jedi actors are played by stuntmen who've been in previous Lucasfilm projects like the sequels and stuff. So I think we're going to be like have some very intense fights since you've got these stunt people getting their own Jedi roles, kind of like the stunt woman who doubled for Fennec Shand for Ming-Na Wen in Mandalorian, getting her like flowers as like a Jedi in the first episode of Obi-Wan. I think it'll be very much a thing where they go down fighting, but it's probably going to be quite brutal for sure.
I have been kind of waiting to see if they can top what I think is maybe the best kill in Star Wars, which is Kylo at the end of the Praetorian Guard fight, just the igniting
the lightsaber lobotomy.
The one that every screening I went to got it. Oh shit! In the crowd from multiple people.
So cool. So cool.
I think it might happen here. And, you know, they've been talking a big game. Like, you know, with the fights, we sought to top Duel of the Fates. And we haven't seen a duel yet. So, like, a traditional saber duel, not like Force Fu or anything that we've seen before. No. So it's like, I think something good's coming. And I'm very excited.
This is the thing. I think as well that there's a little bit of an allusion to the Phantom Menace here as well, because I say I'm worried for Jackie, but the thing that gives me hope is that scene at the start in the Jedi Temple when she is practicing along with the other younglings, and we get to see Daphne King sort of like flexing her saber skills, like showing her twirling the saber. And the thing it reminded me of was the Phantom Menace, because they make a point in the Phantom Menace of showing you the differing kind of styles between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is just very much kind of like, you know, very basic, like I'm just going to do what needs to be done. Saber fighting is not my interest. Whereas Obi's got that little bit of extra flair. You know, he likes to spin, he loves the sauce. He loves to spin the saber around. He's going to do the splits. He's going to like, you know, do all the acrobatics and stuff. And it's all kind of there to sort of front load you for the fact that in this duel, Obi-Wan's probably going to last longer against Maul because he's got that little bit of extra like sauce in terms of saber skills because he's practiced more with it, I suppose, compared to Qui-Gon. And I kind of think the same could be true for Jecki, in that she is a little bit more practiced with the saber, and that might give her an edge to survive against the onslaught of Darth Teeth, because we do see her dual wielding in promos for the fight, and I think my hope is that she will survive, because they just started bonding her with Osha, and she's got that great line that she says, where she says, we're not defined by what we lose, we're defined by what we survive, which just it instantly made me think of so many great Star Wars characters like Obi-Wan, who have defined themselves by their ability to withstand all of the horrible shit that's been thrown their way and just come out all the stronger.
I think there's a reason. Jecki Soul's a fucking dead man walking. We're not defined by what we lose, we're defined by what we survive. Okay, Jecki, live up to that ideal. Soul's head is rolling down the forest.
Oh, I mean, you say that he literally, like when he said, "I'll tell you the truth," it's literally Game of Thrones all over again.
Yep.
When we next meet, we'll talk about your mother. It's literally that. It's literally, we'll talk about your mother. It's that kind of like comparison. He's literally he's marked himself. He's literally stamped Sean Bean's face on his head. He's got the Sean Bean mark of execution at this point. I'm really worried for Soul.
Stop.
I don't want to lose him, but
he's got a mark around his neck. He's got all kinds of like bow and arrow wounds.
Word. I'm ending the episode. But I think there's a reason they paired the Acolyte with the Phantom Menace re-release, and it's not just because it's the closest thing in timeline. We're getting a lot of parallels, like a character showing up. But before we get back to that, going back to the beginning of the episode again, we talked about the Qimir Mae aspect, but also I just want to, because you mentioned Jecki. Every scene that Osha and Jecki shared in this episode was arguably my favorite part of the entire episode. I love the camaraderie they've formed. I love how Daphne Keane said in an interview that she kind of played the role as if Jecki has a little bit of a crush on Osha, which I'm sure certain people just were thrilled to hear that.
I'd say it's very fair. Like they're both I would say that's a very fair thing. And if anything, it makes them more High Republic coded for me, because the Jedi in those stories, they love to crush on each other. Just ask Reith.
And there was that little kid. There was that little kid Jedi in the second episode that like he's keeping watch, and then like the cute little girl walks by. He's like, hold on, let me check that out real quick, and he comes back. It's like, oh fuck, they're gone.
Dude could have potentially saved a lot of Jedi from dying, and got distracted because of a cute girl.
The power of one, the power of two, the power of horny. That's what they say in the High Republic era.
This is the thing as well, though, Andrew.
The power of that ass.
But yeah, see, since we're talking about like the Jedi Temple stuff, I really liked the middle meeting as well. Like, I love that we now have a middle council. We have middle management Jedi. Like,
before we get into that, can I just real quickly talk about one scene in this episode that I did not like, which was Osha being like, "Yeah, I'm leaving," and then the next scene, Soul sees her. It's like, "Stay," and she's like, "All right, I'll stay." I just feel like that wasn't needed. It was like a little.
Can I offer a defense for that scene for what I think they were going for, but didn't quite land?
Go ahead.
I think Osha was really hoping for Soul to ask her to stay, and I think that Osha, whether or not she said yes, wanted to be offered back into the Order. I think that's what she was hoping for.
Now
because there is an immediate deflation.
She's immediately like, "Oh, does that mean I can be a Jedi again?" And he's like, "Not quite," and he's like, "Damn it." But it did lead to maybe the best scene in the episode, which was, please don't tell me I have to wear the civilian robes.
Hard cut, smash cut, right to the civilian robes.
Stupidest looking robes you've ever seen. I'm
Great
like,
joke.
Stupidest looking robes. She looks like a Cal Kestis cosplayer, and let that be a testament to how much I hate Cal's outfit in the first game. I hate it. I hate the ponchos. Fuck the ponchos.
Oh, I'll take the Survivor costumes over the Fallen Order costumes, to be fair.
Ponchos are boring.
And I usually like a Star Wars poncho, to be fair.
Fuck ponchos.
I think that might be the hottest take you've had on this show.
That is definitely the hottest take, for sure.
What? Not me spending 40 minutes defending one of the worst Star Wars games of all time?
Okay.
I mean,
all
that
right.
is also a hot
That
take.
might be
I
the
will give you
second
that.
hottest take you had on this show. That did blow up, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
To go back to the middle council meeting, I want to, like you were saying, I like that we have this, like, oh, should we tell the High Council? And they're like, not yet.
Nah, they'd have to talk to the Senate, and there's a whole process.
Yeah,
Nah.
I think what surprised me is a lot of us were theorizing that Vernestra at this point would be on the council. So to get the confirmation that she isn't it was a bit startling to me, but it still just shows like, oh, they're purposely going out of their way to not show the council, at least this season. They're like, whatever we can to not get Yoda on screen right now. We'll take it because we want to wait for the reveal. We don't want to blow our load too quickly.
The thing that I find so fascinating about the council stuff,
Give us Yaddle,
is that give us Yaddle speaking normal right next to Yoda. Fucking with the younglings, I like to do. A troll I am.
Yoriel Poof pops up. I'm Yoda. Talk weird, I do.
The thing that I really like about it is that, a lot. This is one of the rare. This is a very rare moment where you're seeing the Jedi learn all the wrong lessons from like what we all love to indict them for in the prequel era. Is that it is unambiguously, now granted, there's obviously the dramatic irony of the fact that we all know how this story plays out, not this show, but the grander narrative, that the Jedi will fall, and part of that will be the institutional decay wrought on them by their close relationship with the Galactic Republic. Yes, we all know that. So we as the audience have the privilege of going, oh, it was obviously the right call to tell the council and to tell the Senate, because maybe you guys could have got ahead of the Sith 100 years early and stopped, literally could have potentially saved trillions of lives. Trillions.
Exactly.
Of
like
lives.
So many lives.
But
and
trillions is a conservative estimate. Because these dominoes are all leading to the Geonosian ethnic cleansing, the destruction of Alderaan, the destruction of the Hosnian system, countless lives lost in Operation Cinder. Again, a magnitude of trillions of lives could have been saved if Vernestra Rwoh was not so consumed by the politicking.
which is
so much of what's going
sad.
wrong.
It really is.
Stellan would be fucking disappointed in you. He is rolling in his watery grave.
Damn it.
For real though. Vernestra Rwoh is making the conscious decision to not want to have to deal with the red tape, to not make the hard decision that is, we are going to work people up into a frenzy over this. Like, I am fully convinced, and I've said since the beginning, since so many people are like, oh, but the Sith and like Ki-Adi Mundi's line of dialogue or whatever, that like it is. I have always been of the mind. If anybody survive, if any of our heroes survive this show, they're going to cover it up. And I'm more convinced now than ever that Vernestra Rwoh is going to be the one to say, hey, we killed him. There's no reason to freak the rest of the galaxy out and tell him we just offed the Sith Lord.
Oh, she's totally going to be involved in the fray as well. Like she's on Khofar. I think she's going to be like Dumbledore, essentially showing up at the last minute to like basically.
I agree with you.
Send Darth Teeth packing. She's got
show out at the fire. Oh fuck yeah!
She shows up. She's got the lightsaber whip. She twirls it around a bit. Like she sends him packing. Basically, yeah. It'll be that kind of thing.
I truly do believe that is going to be the decision. That like, oh yeah, like because again, so many people got caught up in getting angry about a retcon of a trading card and a CD-ROM, then what we're not recognizing is that Vernestra Rwoh, whether she knows it or not, whether it's intentional or not, has primed the Department of Dirty Tricks Jedi Council the little Jedi Council CIA operation they have going on there, actively hiding, Black Ops shit from the government is basically what's going on, is that they have already primed them to think it's a rogue Jedi, it's some other type of Force user. She never says the S word. She never says Sith.
We've not heard the word Sith mentioned.
That is why
entertain the idea that it could be a Sith
discourse is so throw it in the bin immediately. Because if you actually watched that fucking scene, not once does the word Sith get used. As a matter of fact, I don't think the word Sith has been used, at least on the light side perspective, in the entire series yet.
Because again, this is
because they're like, because Ki-Adi Mundi. I apologize, I got to go on my rant here. Ki-Adi Mundi.
Oh no, fair enough.
Oh, a master not knowing, or an apprentice not knowing their own master. That's
absurd.
That's absurd. Yeah. And the whole time they're like, oh, it had to be one of us. It had to be a rogue Jedi or a splinter order. They're not even thinking about the Sith right now. Or at least if they are, they're putting it in the deepest corner of their brain because they're like, that can't be the Sith. We killed them. We exterminated them. So it's got to be a rogue order. It's got to be this. The Sith are not on their minds right now. The High Republic is this period of peace and prosperity, except for the Nile, which, that's a different
path
story.
of the open hand. Who can do it? Yeah, they can. No, I don't even want to acknowledge that they can do one.
So, the whole point of that scene was to show that the Jedi at this point, the Sith are not on their mind. They're not on their radar. They're going to. It's got to be just a rogue Jedi in their ranks, or potentially that had left the Order, training Mae. That has to be it. So again, for them to hear this scene or to watch this scene and to be like, oh, well, this means Ki-Adi knew about the Sith and betrayed the Jedi. He's a traitor. No, it's not, because he doesn't know. And I guarantee you, isn't going to be one of the Jedi that know about this.
I mean, I'd be surprised if we see him again.
Yeah. If he's just in this episode, to be like,
I would wager he is.
It's just so... It's so fucking stupid. Who cares about
you have to not understand the episode on purpose.
Again.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And
I think sorry.
I was just gonna say it's entirely that. It's entirely putting your blinders up. Ki-Adi Mundi, la 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 la. I'm not even gonna listen to the scene. If you really think that they would include something like this that purposely undermines what we know not what we know in the Phantom Menace, but purposely undermines that integral part of one of their movies, and Lucasfilm be like, maybe don't do that. We can't do that. The example I used before we started recording of how Lucasfilm would have just immediately vetoed this right away was in Solo, when Maul shows up. They had to be like, hold on, we got to change that lightsaber because in Rebels he uses a different one and he doesn't have the one from the prequels anymore. And they're like, oh, well, shit, we got to do that now. And they talked about that openly. So if they really were like, so this fucks up the Phantom Menace, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
but that's just...
What about the Sith attack on the Wookiee? They've literally given us a new version of that.
Is this really what George would have wanted? Would George have done this? Let's go through a list, ladies and gentlemen, of just a few things that George Lucas went, we did something here, but, I want to tell a different story. We mentioned Jasper Muriel earlier. What the fuck is his name again?
Jaster
Muriel. And how Attack of the Clones kind of fucked up a lot of established Legends content already, and we had to just pivot there like we're doing now. There's also the infamous Boba Fett and Jango Fett. They're Mandalorians, but they aren't Mandalorians, but they are, but actually they aren't. And now in canon, they are again. There's Chewie in Revenge of the Sith, and the fact that we almost had young Han Solo in Revenge of the Sith. There's, of course, Anakin building C-3PO in The Phantom Menace. No mention of that in the original trilogy. There is Darth Maul surviving The Phantom Menace in the Clone Wars. There is every single thing that got retconned in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars going into the 2008 Clone Wars series. Because at the time, those were both they both existed at the same time before the 2014 Legend split was like, yep, okay, this one isn't canon, this one is. There's Shakti dying about 80 different times of which one is the truth and which one isn't. There's the inhibitor chips not being a thing until deep into the Clone Wars, and it's us changing our complete perspective of how Order 66 went down. Then, of course, there's George, he respected Legends. This is George's vision. Direct George Lucas quote from 2008. We're going to ignore the part where he talks about how he's never going to make episodes 7 through 9 because a few years later he started developing that. But we're going to ignore that part. The Star Wars story is really a tragedy of Darth Vader. That is the story. Once Vader dies, he doesn't come back to life. The Emperor doesn't get cloned, and Luke doesn't get married. So that's what George really thought about a lot of the things that people really love about Legends. And this is
but you have to understand, Andrew. You have to understand these new people. The only one who's allowed to futz with George's vision is the white guy from Pittsburgh. And if you guys have been listening to me speak, I don't know how seriously you can take white guys from Pittsburgh. I talked about Alex Jones for 15 minutes. He's the only one who's allowed to, because everybody else are these pretenders to the throne. And
everyone I mentioned there were ones that George had direct involvement in. I didn't even go into the canon stuff. I went into just Legends.
And that's like around the time of Legends. You didn't even like there's also the fact that like there's the two biggest like retcons and changes he made, which was Leia being Luke's sister and Vader being Luke's dad. Like again, George was changing shit.
Owen Lars is Anakin's brother, but actually Obi-Wan's brother, but actually Anakin's stepbrother.
Yeah, like literally stuff has been changed like that for ages, and it's always been the way with Star Wars. And George always had a tenuous relationship at best with the EU or Legends. So like it's very much like it's always been like that way. And anyone who tries to pretend otherwise is either a grifter or they're getting like themselves worked up for nothing. In which case, please, like actually, well, yeah, here's an idea. Go read Wikipedia instead of watching Star Wars theory videos. Read Wikipedia.
There's a great tab on Wikipedia. I don't know if you've ever been on their website, but there's a great tab where if you go to a character or an event or something, they have the canon thing, and then you click, and there's Legends, and you can click on that.
There's the whole Legends continuity.
Again, if you prefer the Legends stories, that's totally fine.
They have it.
I like a lot of the Legends stuff, and I like some of the things more than some of the canon stuff. But you know what I don't do?
Legends books I want to read.
I don't be a fucking baby about it. Okay? Yes, I know it's hard when things that if you pride yourself on knowing a lot of trivia, and you pride yourself on having a deep amount of knowledge about something, it is admittedly a bit like, oh, now all that stuff doesn't matter. But it's not that it doesn't matter. Like those stories still exist. They still sell those books. You can still read all of those books, and you can pick and choose which parts are in your personal canon and which parts aren't. That's what a lot of people do with various franchises and various different things in fandom. And
it is the fundament of how most people read comic books.
It is, it is, you know, look at how much every comic retcons themselves almost every 3 months.
We'd be here all day, just like going through
is this character alive? Is this character dead? Is this character... Do they have their powers? Do they not have their powers?
DC Comics, anyone?
Has Barbara Gordon been shot in the spine yet? Yes or no? Has that happened? Will it happen? We don't know. Yeah.
Does Jason Todd have like dark hair or strawberry blonde hair? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Like we've been lucky that for 47 years we've had almost a continuous amount of content with Star Wars, with the books, and with the comics, and the video games, and eventually the TV shows. That, yes, when we had almost 30 years of storytelling, and then they were told, okay, well, we're going to reset the canon. And unless this was on screen, we're wiping it clean. That exists in its own separate universe. Treat it as a multiverse if you want to do that.
Do you have any idea how insane it is that a franchise... I just realized I had stuff written on my Epic Confrontations board. And I wanted to erase it. Do you have any idea how insane it is that we have a franchise that's damn near 50 years old that only had one reboot?
It's crazy, isn't it?
How many times a decade do Marvel and DC completely reset their their comic. It's just the comics. How many
Yeah.
times has the Batman movie series rebooted in the last 40 years? How many times did Spider-Man reboot in a decade? Just in the films.
Times. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
And they have not, and I don't think they ever will take something that's been on screen and erase that. They are not erasing George's vision. They make it a point in almost every single interview that a creative has to this day of bringing up George's vision at least once in that interview, because it's very clear that they value what he brought to the fandom. But also with something like Star Wars, and George realized this when he sold the fucking franchise, that it can't just be one people telling stories, and that it's better for the franchise if more creatives take on this. There's another franchise that I talked with Donovan about that should really fucking take this hint and do that, but a certain transphobic piece of shit doesn't want to do that and wants to instead crater the franchise that's been a generational thing for 20 fucking years. Different rant. I'll be here for 6
Well, if I may, and I think this is something that's very, very important about this whole conversation, and it's two-pronged. One, it's called trivia for a reason.
Yeah.
It's trivial.
The year Ki-Adi Mundi was born has zero to do with his character on screen.
Exactly.
Which is to show the blinders that the Jedi had on during the prequel era to what was right in front of their face.
Yeah.
Oh, the Sith can't be there, even though we just heard about you fighting this guy with a red lightsaber and trying to kill the queen because we killed them. Count Dooku can't be a murderer. There's no way, even though the entire point of the movie is this assassination attempt. And then him leading a battle at the end of the movie that wipes out like a quarter of the fucking order at once.
Wait, what? The Chancellor of the Galactic Republic was actually a
What?
What?
So, yeah. There's that. The other thing, and I say this as somebody who was a huge fan of the movie Trivia Schmodown, may she rest in peace, who has sacrificed their mental health to epic confrontations. Like, I love Star Wars trivia. It's such a fun, friendly little dick measuring contest that we all get to participate in when it's all in good fun. The issue, and this isn't a knock on Wikipedia at all, like they have a very important resource that helps a lot of fans keep up with shit, and this is not a knock on them. The amount of people who reduce these stories to a list of events, not what they're about, not what they mean, none of the themes, none of the development. It's this person does this cool thing on this planet against this other cool person. They do a fight. The story ends. This story picks up X amount of years after that story so that this cool guy can fight this cool guy on this planet in this cool location. It is a list of fucking events. It is the exploration of the ideas is the second, third, or maybe even fourth priority to the people who get hung up on these fucking details. Yeah. Again, what people are it's a matter of choosing to just not understand it on purpose and a lack of fucking media literacy to not look at the change to Ki-Adi Mundi's age and not recognize this as a really cool vehicle for character development for a character who is known simply just for being wrong and not liking flavored snow cones. That's all we know about this guy. That's all we know about him. That's all most people know about him, legends or canon. That's all we knew. He's boring and he's wrong and has hella bitches. That's all we knew about him. That's all we knew about him.
He's one of the background Jedi in the prequels. He's just the only one that has lines.
And
that's literally it.
And it's really ironic as well that like so many people have like pretended to throw a fit about him, because odds are he's probably not going to appear again. Like given that because they didn't even get Silas Carson to come back and do the voice. He was voiced instead.
That's why I didn't think it was him at first.
Same.
Exactly. And this is a point of irony here. I'm a little annoyed that Silas Carson didn't come back, because then I could have done a Who Watch episode all about the fact that he was in this. because he is in Doctor Who, he voices the Ood, which is like the little the tentacle monsters that appear in David Tennant's first season, and they've had a bunch of recurring appearances, going onward from that. However,
What?
I did, in fact, Silas Carson, Ki-Adi Mundi is the voice of the Ood. So, like, there's an episode.
Ki-Adi Mundi?
Yeah, Ki-Adi Mundi. Yeah, like exactly, like when they're like saying like we must feed. That's Ki-Adi
I have to
Mundi's
text
voice.
like 8 people right now that I just
I'm
learned.
happy to have blown your mind about that, dude. That's awesome. However, though, there is in fact a person in that council meeting who has technically been in Doctor Who. So
here we go. It's back, ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another installment of Who Watch. We have a bunch of different Jedi appearing in that meeting, but the one that caught my eye specifically, and I'm just pulling up IMDb to make sure I get her name right, is Indra Uva, who plays Jedi Master. Let me just pull. I need to pull Wikipedia up again. Master Holden. Indra Uva plays Master Holden, and she very recently recorded, because this is the thing you need to understand about Doctor Who. One of the big spin-off things with Doctor Who is the audio dramas. Like, Star Wars has a few audio dramas here and there. The High Republic's done some really cool stuff. Battle of Jedah's awesome. Doctor Who has audio dramas out the wazoo. There's like so many thanks to this.
It's a very British thing.
Yeah, like Big Finish, they do so many audio dramas, and it's so amazing. They get so many of the actors involved. David Tennant's done a bunch. So have the other doctors, Matt Smith, Peter Davison, Christopher Eccleston. She, however, Indra Uva,
funny to me that Eccleston will only do Doctor Who and audio.
Oh yeah, he'll only do the audio dramas. He won't touch the TV for some reason. But literally, Indra Uva very recently recorded some audio dramas with the Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, who other people might know as Radagast the Brown from the Hobbit movies. But yeah, she has done an audio drama with Doctor Who. She's going to do another one with Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, later this year. And just to add an extra little bit of trivia, she is also one of the flight attendants in The Fifth Element, specifically the one who gets a little bit fruity with Thingy's Ruby Rod. I forgot the actor's name. Chris Tucker. There we go. Like,
I was gonna say, is that Tucker? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like, and if anyone's not watched The Fifth Element, then do yourself a favor, go and watch it, because you are missing out on one of the nuttiest sci-fi films ever made. It is utter like craziness, and I love it.
I'll watch it. I have never seen it.
It's good.
Oh, you will love like Ruby Rod alone is worth the price of this
movies that are considered to be Luc Besson's not good movies. So
like
I'm sure I will like The Fifth Element quite a bit.
Bruce Willis, utter badass in the movie. Like they even kept a take in where that he flubbed simply because the scene looks in the scene. But like, yeah, that's so yeah, this is the episode of Who Watch currently concluded. I'm hoping to see a few more people pop up. It wasn't about the person I was expecting.
We were literally talking about this beforehand. Like, we haven't gotten a Who Watch in a while. So
yeah, I had to play that card close to my chest for that one.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, to just go off of, just put a final note on what Jarod said there. The obsession with trivia equates to storytelling is just not how it works, and it is just totally apparent by the fact that we've spent an hour and a half mainly just talking about a 30-second appearance by a background character in the prequels and how that allegedly ruins the entire lore of the franchise. To get back to the actual episode, when we get to Khofar and we see those creepy ass fucking beetle spider things or whatever those were. Nope. It wasn't quite the spiders from that one episode of The Mandalorian season 2, which is still like the one thing in Star Wars where I'm like, I don't think I can ever watch that again because that scared the shit out of me.
Nah, that was some scary shit.
It was peak COVID, so I was just like the whole time just like, but There's spiders everywhere.
Shout out Aliska, the Twitch streamer Aliska, for her reaction, because like I feel for her. She has like a genuine phobia of spiders, but when like the big one shows up, she lets out the most like authentic scream. It's just so funny.
Yeah. But before I completely skipped over Don's boy Bazil.
Yeah, my dude. I think I like this little guy. I just had to
He's
say that one more time.
My favorite. And I just love how serious Yord is about him the whole time. Like, Osha doesn't know what to call him, doesn't know, like, oh, is it a he or is it a they? Which I thought was going to be the thing that riled up people for fake reasons. But he's like, no, his name is Bazil, and he's a scavenger, he's a tracker, and he's here to help us. Like, I'm so glad we got Yord back for this episode, because my one thing with last week was, it's like, yeah, I like this stuff, but man, I'm upset that we got introduced to all of these characters, and now we're not focusing on them right now. But to see them again, I just like seeing them all and getting to see that group and that funny moment with Osha's civilian robes. But as we get further and further and further, I like that it kept cutting back between the Jedi and then Qimir and Mae, and we get further and further cracks, and eventually Qimir getting trapped by Mae in the little like thing. So like I really liked the way that this episode was framed and was set up. And Mae's turn, as we talked about, shocked me. I was very surprised by it. And it made me think even more. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for my updated Sithy suspects for the week.
Damn, Andrew.
Yeah.
Let me put it back on the screen real quick. There we go.
Damn.
So yeah,
what's your favorite Sith?
So last week we added Mother Coral to the list. We dropped Mother Anastasia off the list. This week, I think it's all Qimir. He's either the ultimate red herring, and it's going to be something completely out of left field, or it's just right in front of our face.
Oh, it's the thing. He's so obvious to me at this point that there's got to be the extra twist that he is the Sith apprentice. I feel like it's making it very clear, so it's setting up what looks like the main twist, so that it can drop another bombshell of like, oh no, actually there's this even more powerful Sith in charge of this scary ass like horror movie deviant creature that's been unleashed.
Deviant creature. No, I completely agree with you. I think it is Qimir. Again, the show, the thing that I love about it, it's very Knives Out, and it's not a whodunit, it's a why and how done it. You know, the show was not, you know, it's like, oh, it's a mystery thriller. Who's killing all these Jedi? We have that answer within the first 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. You know, again, it was one of my favorite things that I cannot wait to hear Leslie Headland talk about this show after it's all over, so that she can go neener, neener, neener. You guys are so proud. Oh, I bet you're so proud of yourselves. You figured out the twins. We didn't think the twins were a twist. You know, I love that. I love how that has been so much of the show, is that this show is way more concerned with how and why this is all happening than who is responsible. So again, I think that, yeah, okay, we have this revelation. Qimir is Darth Teeth. Cool. There's bigger fish to fry. I don't think that the twists stop here.
No. And well, before I get into that, do you think Qimir let Mae capture him, or do you think that was him genuinely being outsmarted by Mae here? Because we have seen him be a bit more ahead of the curve than we thought. Like in the second episode, he catches on immediately that Osha was pretending to be Mae, and then he kind of apprehends Mae when Mae tries to take him out right then and there.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, do you think that he had his guard down and actually allowed himself, or was taken aback, or do you think it's all a part of the plan?
Oh, I think he absolutely got blindsided there, because, and I think again, this is why he's the apprentice. He may be very powerful and very smart, but he's not all knowing. He's he has his oversights, and this is the thing. He gets very jittery when Mae starts talking about like not having faith in the mission anymore, and it kind of feels like he's got other problems besides, you know, just getting this apprentice and keeping hidden from the Jedi. He's got his master to worry about, because if he doesn't have Mae, he can't take on his master and supplant him and pursue his own goals with whatever he plans to do. Which I just, the more I see him, the more I'm just thinking, yeah, he's a Sith apprentice. The style, the look of the character, all of it kind of screams Sith apprentice to me. You know, for as much as he's scary, there's a very kind of take me seriously look that you tend to get from Sith apprentices, like whether it's Darth Vader or Darth Maul, with the way they kind of look and everything. There's a very kind of like the characters like that always tend to be Sith apprentices, whereas the Sith masters always have a more understated look. So I kind of get the sense that I think, yeah, he was outsmarted here. He was outsmarted, and he's getting jittery. So that's why he just kind of like takes matters into his own hands and very, very brutally offs Kelnacca off screen, which was like, you know, again, that was such a
the
scene.
Twist for me, because I was like in denial about the fact that we were going to see Kelnacca die, just because I'm like, oh, Wookiee Jedi is so cool. But like we knew with Mae's mission, like it was, if anyone's going to survive, it's probably Soul, not Kelnacca.
Yeah.
But to see like a cut to his hut and to see him dead, the corpse, the lightsaber wound right there, that's when
smoldering.
Yep. That's when the mood went like, oh, shit's getting scary here.
Yeah.
And like it was
and
just
the look of horror on
Mae.
Amanda Stenberg's face when Mae just says he's here, and the lighting even changes. It's so good.
So good.
It's very kind of like detective, like thriller kind of like mood,
absolutely,
with like the body being discovered, like already dead, like in the thing, and it's like
made a big a thread on Twitter about there was just something so chilling about seeing a dead Wookiee, because like we did see like all the Wookiees are dead, like it like seen in Revenge of the Sith, but a lot of that wasn't like actually Chewie, like a lot of it was just CG Wookiee.
Nor was it lingered on, you know. It's all very like we're all kind of moving past it. It's very in the abstract.
Mm-hmm. To see like after all this buildup, to just see him immediately taken out, and a lot of people like, ah, damn it, they did it off screen, and I was like that too. But we know it's not the end. We're gonna see him in action in the flashbacks, so that makes up for it in my mind. Like, okay, at least we're gonna get to see a Wookiee Jedi kick ass in live action.
Indeed. And also, I think
like
that's
truly
kind of the point as well.
Jonas, like to his full potential.
I'm hoping now that he comes back for the new Jedi Order film. Surely he's gonna like be in that movie to like pal up with Rey. But
I think I would be totally okay if they just insert a Wookiee into everything just so he can play one. Like I would be totally.
I love me some Wookiees.
Exactly.
I think each episode has. It's all right. I think each episode has been kind of like very purposeful with how it showed the Jedi being killed. It's always in a way that's disappointing and anticlimactic, purposefully so. Not because each death is hollow, because we're not meant to think that it's cool that the Jedi got murdered or anything. We're supposed to feel sad and a little disappointed and feel that it's kind of unfair. Because that's how the Sith play. It
also shows how vapid it is for Mae, that none of this is getting done what she wants.
Yeah, no.
She wants her sister back, and Dara can't do that, Torben can't do that, Kelnacca can't do that, Soul can't do that.
And nothing goes a part of the plan. Like, Mae kind of cheats to kill Indara, Torben takes his own life, and she's not even involved with Kelnacca. It's her master that does it.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then just, again, I just want to go back to how the first time we saw Soul draw his lightsaber in the series was to protect Osha from that bug. And a very Cal Kestis thing of him just killing that insect in cold blood.
I always love.
I mean, the insect. It was kind of like Norman Osborn. Like the insect kind of like head first into the lightsaber and like filleted itself.
It was
like,
very like we've seen
like
him
King
in
Candy and Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Why are you going into the law?
We've seen him in a whole ass duel, and he didn't whip out the saber at any point. So this was like the first time we saw it, but to just see when Darth Teeth shows up, the genuine fear and terror on the face of every single one of those Jedi when
Jackie says,
when
"What is
Osha
that?"
is just fucking thrown with the Force,
Shit, wait.
and they all ignite their sabers, and then boom, Force, and then that's it. And I was like, "Fucking Jesus Christ!"
I was like, "Oh, you are kidding me!
Yeah.
You're gonna leave it there."
I
have so much empathy for.
Yeah.
I have so much sympathy for every single critic that sat down to watch these 4
that's
episodes.
the last thing they saw.
That's the last stinger. Like, oh my god, how have people been coping for like weeks, having to deal with that cliffhanger?
This is an editing thing where I think the ending of episodes, the transition to the credits, could be a bit more natural. Like, it does have the trademark Star Wars transitions, which is great. But like, it just feels like boom, scene. Oh, we're in the credits now.
Yeah.
And it was very apparent here. I don't remember who it was that said it, but I saw it on my Twitter feed where if they did like the trademark Bad Batch, like brrr, like synth noise, cut to black, and then boom, flash the credits, I think it would have worked a little bit better. But there was just something kind of nice about that adrenaline rush of shit's going down. Oh, episode ends. You got to wait till next week.
So many lightsabers. Like,
if I may, on a couple topics, and I'll speed run this because I know we're trying to bring it home here. One, I agree that Qimir was sincerely captured. I don't think it was because he got outsmarted. I think it's because he was so in character that there was a moment where he realized, okay, it's time to get serious.
Like Clark Kenting it. Yeah, I like that.
Like, because it's one of my favorite things about both times Rey fought Kylo Ren and about when Luke fought Vader on Cloud City, is that both of them were playing with their food. Both of them, like Vader was like, Vader and Kylo Ren with their respective Skywalker opponents were very much like, yeah, I'm not fighting to kill you. I want to bring you in alive, but you keep coming at me. And the moment the other one really, really starts putting their back into it, Vader and Ren both go, okay, we're done playing around now.
Yeah.
Like Luke scores one really good hit on Vader in Cloud City, and Vader's like, aw, you're cute.
With your
there
hand.
goes your fucking hand.
Yeah.
Fuck around and find out. Same thing happens with Kylo Ren. Rey spends that entire fight on Starkiller Base running away from him and is saved by her finally giving herself over to the Force and the planet crumbling apart. And then on Kefbir, when Rey starts trying to show off, Kylo Ren locks in with that, aw, you're so cute holding my lightsaber blade with the Force. Now let me show you how somebody knows what the fuck they're doing, does it? And he beats her. Again, so many people, Rey never loses a fight. She gets her ass kicked every fucking time. She gets dog walked on Kefbir.
She only wins that duel because of Leia calling out to Ben.
Again, I would even go so far as to say, and I know, and people tell me I'm splitting hairs when I say this, Rey loses that fight the same way Obi-Wan loses to Maul. They both overcome their enemy. Rey, Ben gets distracted, she runs him through. Obi-Wan jumps out of the reactor pit and cuts Darth Maul in half. But the fight was over. They lost. All they had to bank on in survival is the other person fucking up at the very end. That is all they had to cling to. In Obi-Wan's case, quite literally cling to.
And the fact that he lost his master.
Yeah, like again, Obi-Wan gets finessed by Maul. He gets that lucky hit in. Maul outthinks him. It's one of the few times we see somebody like out-tactician Obi-Wan Kenobi, where Obi-Wan has his back to that reactor pit, and Maul's like, shame. Force push. Knocks him right back down.
Yeah.
Same thing with Rey. Rey is on her back, disarmed, dead to rights, with Kylo Ren about to run her through. And then Leia reaches out. She lost the fight. And I think it's a similar thing here with Qimir. It's Luke scoring that lucky blow on Vader's shoulder, where he's like, oh, okay, we're done playing the game now. It's time for me to, we're done playing. Because you have pushed this to the point where it's time for me to remind you who's running the show. So I do think, yes, he gets sincerely outmaneuvered, but it's because he was treating her with kid gloves, the same way Vader and Kylo Ren were with Rey and Luke.
Yeah, he thought he was so in control of what Mae was doing. He felt like he had complete influence over where to prod her, where to push her towards, like regarding her hatred of the Jedi. And now he's realizing he doesn't have control. He realizes he's underestimated her ability to like think for herself, and to it's essentially kind of shake off like the hatred and the anger and think, oh, actually, yeah, I actually don't. Now that my sister's alive, I don't want to kill these Jedi.
Yeah. Can
I don't want to. I don't want
say,
this.
I've said it every week, but the fact that it's Manny Jacinto playing this role is just the icing on the fucking cake, dude.
And
He's like, it's gonna transform the way he's gonna get cast in so many like bad boy roles now. Simply
This is if we're right. Like if we're dead wrong here,
it's
which
deeply
is
funny. It'll be deeply funny.
yeah.
like
it's
imagine next
no,
episode
he's
he
just
does
an
all this
idiot.
shit. Yeah, but imagine if he does all this shit, disappears, and then like Mae goes back and he's like still hanging
I
there.
think
Like
there's
he
a
went and tied
very
himself
strong
back
chance
up.
we do get that, is to like throw us off the case briefly of, oh, I couldn't have been the Sith. I was hanging here
Yeah.
this whole time.
Yeah.
I've been here the whole time.
I've been here the whole time.
On
I
the
do think one last thing I want to say before you get back into what you were saying, Jarod. You're gonna get a point in this confrontation where Mae is confronted by the Master, and I think this would be the perfect opportunity for Osha to reconnect with the Force.
oh yeah,
And I think that's where it's either that or to save Soul. It's going to be one of the two. And I
We haven't thought of Mae here. Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't thought of
Mae.
Mae.
And Osha could potentially team up against.
I think we're going to get it parallel to the third episode. I think there's going to be a moment where, because if you remember back when Mother Anastasia is like, now defend against me, force push or thread push or whatever.
We're going to get something like that. Yeah.
Osha runs behind Mae, and then Mae is the one putting up a telekinetic barrier. I think we're going to get the reversal of that, where Osha comes to, Mae gets incapacitated, and maybe Darth T throws out like he's clearly a telekinetic powerhouse. Maybe he throws out like another shotgun blast of a force push, or maybe he starts casting lightning from his fingertips, and then we see Osha get in front of it and put up a telekinetic barrier or absorb it with Tuta Minis, like do something like create to like get reverse of that. I think would be really cool. That's just what I think is going to happen. But
I think now because in our first recap, I was a bit kind of not hesitant, but like, I guess kind of thrown off by the fact that we had two stories in a row of like our main protagonist, quote unquote, not being able to connect to the Force with both Sabine and Osha. But I think Osha has differentiated herself from Sabine so much already.
Oh yeah,
that I'm like, it's a completely different thing. It's
For
more
sure.
trauma based than anything. Whereas Sabine was just she can't unlock that mental barrier that's connecting her to the Force.
And this is the last thing just to add
Go
on
ahead.
to like what you've both been saying about like the Sith and stuff. I think what's really great about this whole horror movie approach to this Sith showing up is that it kind of crystallizes a lot of what has been driving the Jedi's, like, because we there's been that whole conversation about like, oh, why don't the Jedi talk about the Sith? Why don't they even consider it? Because the very idea of the Sith even coming back is terrifying to the Jedi, because they haven't seen one in 900 years for starters, but also they fought a incredibly long war with the Sith for years that they very nearly lost because the Sith was so powerful and so like dedicated to the dark side, so ruthless. Exactly.
And
So
the
very
majority
thought
of them probably had never even seen one in their lives because this was long before their time. So they're
so
like,
this dude
this is
looking like
new
he
to them.
does. And appearing the way he does, he is like a literal nightmare. It's very much he kind of represents what the Sith are to the Jedi at this point, which is this literal nightmare, this nightmarish force. The boogeyman, literally, the bogeyman, like this terrifying force that they don't even want to consider, they don't even want to acknowledge, because the very thought of something like this returning is horrifying to them.
Jarod, did you have any more last thoughts before we wrap things up?
absolutely, and it is very much rooted in that boogeyman idea. Is just that, like, and we all kind of just said it just now. Just that one of the things, like, I just want to get inside the head of every single one of those Jedi who, there have been dark Jedi and fallen Jedi, and people who have used the dark side, and I'm sure that since the fall of the Sith, there have been plenty of red blades floating around. Nowhere near as much as there used to be. But there is a moment, I think, where they all collectively go, that is a Darth.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And realize how in
You can
over their
see
heads
it on Soul's face, like
Yeah.
the reaction from Lee Jung Jae of like,
Can we also
Osha,
just
get
talk
back.
about the fact that this is our first new Darth on screen in live action since 2002?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool. Like, this is one of the
pretty-
things where I'm just like, we've had a couple new Sith Lords introduced in canon, but they've been mainly in the comics and the books. This is like, whew, this is new stuff, and I'm excited.
Well, they delivered. They delivered with this dude.
But
Yeah.
if it is a Sith.
But yeah, no, it's just that terror of like, this is an unprecedented threat, and just that realization of we're in the fucking trenches right now, man. Like it's that boogeyman thing. It's what makes that horror cinematography approach to everything from the levitation to the movements to all of it. It is just so rooted in that sense of this is a supernatural terror we have not seen in nearly a millennium, and we're not looking great right now. So yeah, that's all.
I'm gonna shout out the director of this episode, Alex Garcia Lopez, for just absolutely nailing the horror vibe of those scenes, because it's just really impressive for sure.
Absolutely. And I think with all the discourse we've had throughout this week, I think we just needed to highlight that it was a damn good episode of TV we got. And I think we like actually focusing on the story and the content as opposed to stupid thing number one, stupid thing number two. And we're going to have these discussions because we know that it's going to keep going at this point probably. But there was more to this episode than just a guy with a big head in more ways than one showing up when he...
Dickhead and teethhead.
Yep. This was a really solid episode, and if we straight up continue what we have here next week, I'm very excited. But it's getting late, so I think we're gonna wrap things up on both time zones for once. We're both.
I know. I want to real quick as the guest thank Andrew and Donovan because I was late to recording. I am a little under the weather. I've not been feeling great today. And was late to the recording and made them pause it like halfway through to accommodate me not feeling great. So I want to thank you guys for being such courteous hosts.
No worries, dude.
No worries. But for those joining us for the first time or have not checked you out before, where can everyone find you? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, you guys can find me primarily over at the Nerd Academy podcast. You can find that on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Obviously we're talking Acolyte. I'm doing live stream after shows after every episode airs. You do a little talk back, decompression session, and then we have a weekly review on our episode of our Star Wars show, Knights of the Nerd Republic. We're going to be we're talking about The Boys right now on the main show, the Nerd Academy podcast, the titular show. I love The Boys. I'm loving this season.
But it's
I know. I can't.
They went after Marjorie Taylor Greene. I love that.
That shit was so funny. This season is really, really good, and it's everybody knows I have my pet obsession with the conspiracy movements. These are one of the few shows that actually is able to satirize the modern American conspiracy movement in a way that isn't just like comically stupid. That no, this is how these are the things they actually talk about. And it was very, very good first few episodes of season 4. I'm not ready for this show to end next season. But yeah, you can find me over the Nerd Academy podcast, In a Galaxy, Epic Confrontations, the trivia league we all participate in over at the Star Wars in a Galaxy channel and podcast feed. I'm in a Star Wars RPG show called Ionized Bastards. We're recording our penultimate episode this coming Monday at time of record of season 2. So we're wrapping up the second season and then jumping into season 3, which will be the final season of Ionized Bastards. Another show that I'm not ready to wrap up. I'm not quite ready to say goodbye to Fabe and Martell, which had a great time. It's me playing an ex-Inquisitor.
Name, by the way.
Thank you. It's very funny. My girlfriend got me into Dimension 20 right before Michael McCoy. The All Remaining Systems is the YouTube channel that it's on. Right before Michael McCoy reached out to me about wanting to do a Star Wars RPG show, I had just finished watching the first season of Fantasy High with my girlfriend. and I loved it. And then I immediately was like, "Hey, you want to do the Star Wars version of this?" So in honor of my girlfriend getting me into RPG stuff, I named Fabian after my favorite character from Fantasy High, who is Lou Wilson's character, Fabian Seacaster. So I just kind of I removed a vowel and Star Warsified the name Fabian into Fabian.
That's how you make a Star Wars name right there. You get rid of a couple letters and there you go.
You just you either add or subtract a letter or two, and then you end up with a Star Wars name. So yeah, Fabian Martell. Everybody thinks he's named after Oberyn Martell as well. No, it just sounded cool. I think it was almost Marcel, and I thought Martell was cooler. But yeah, I play Fabian Martell, ex-Inquisitor turned prize fighter. Alden Diaz plays Thalbor Sheems, who's basically Saul Goodman if you were an Ithorian. That's not an exaggeration. He's a lawyer and everything. Jerry the Cannon Junkie from Bombad Cast plays a cuddly HK assassin droid named 4044. And then Dan Miller from Broaxium plays a kleptomaniac vagrant cyborg Gungan named Zuzo York. Describing the characters, I think, has always been the best sell for the show.
Oh no, you sold it to me with that Gungan character immediately.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's a really good time. It's the project I enjoy working on the most because I get to make a Star Wars with some of my best friends. So Ionized Bastards, like I said, it's wrapping up. First season's out. All the episodes of season 2 up to this point are out. So go check that out. All remaining systems. And then I'm on a new show because I love to hear the sound of my own voice called Pro and Noob over at the Mitch692 channel, where he is showing me Neon Genesis Evangelion one episode at a time.
You're in for a trip.
Yeah, I have been losing my fucking mind every week trying to figure out what in the absolute hell is going on. It has taken a psychological toll on me that I don't think we'll ever be able to quite recover from.
No, it doesn't get better. Don't worry.
I know. I just finished Ray 1 and Ray 2. So we're making good pace. We're recording the next episode tomorrow, actually, which just reminded me I gotta watch the next episode. Fuck. But yeah, so check all that out. Having a lovely time on all of those projects. So yeah, Nerd Academy Podcast, Ionized Bastards, Epic Confrontations, and Pro and Noob. That's where you can find me, and on Twitter at Dark Jedi 2552.
Perfect. Donovan, as for yourself.
So you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead. I recently crossed 100k followers thanks to the Star Wars Twitter reintroduction trend. So thanks very much for that. Lots of love to new followers and stuff. You can also find me on TikTok at Donovan McComish. Instagram you can find me at Donovan_McComish. Same handle for my Threads account, and Blue Sky. I'm at donovanmccomish.bsky.social. I am also a question writer for Star Wars Inner Galaxy Epic Confrontations. And also I am a writer and producer for SWEF, Star Wars Editor Fiction, which is a collection of short stories that try to stay within the canon of what's currently established in Star Wars, but we'll cherry pick a few bits from Legends. The site is currently down, but we're working to get it back up. I have written one story currently for SWEF that came out nearly 2 years ago now, because today was the
time works.
Crazy how time works. Yeah, I still can't believe the finale of Obi-Wan was 2 years ago, man. It's crazy. But I'll go on a tangent about it. But yeah, the story in question is called Scars of War, and it stars a clone trooper called Blister who survived, who escaped the Empire in the aftermath of Order 66 and finds his quiet existence on the planet of Kivo in the Outer Rim interrupted 5 years later by the arrival of a Jedi survivor named Shar Kun. So if you like Star Wars and pain, people sifting through their trauma and share their PTSD, then yeah, definitely check this one out. It was a lot of fun to write.
Did you say Shah Kun, like Plo Koon's niece?
Shah Kun, yeah. So one of the things I did was I as an example of us cherry picking some stuff from Legends, I took Shah Kun, the character, because I liked the character and I thought this is a character who
game recognizes game, Donovan. Okay, I see you.
Like I liked the character. There's a lot of references. For anyone who's read that issue, there's a lot of references to the character, her history, even her Padawan gets a mention. And I also kind of like I also dropped a subtle reference to her creator, John Ostrander, legendary comic book writer for a lot of Legend stuff and for DC Comics. So yeah, if that's another reason for you guys to check out the Scars of War, then I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, but we all hate Legends, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. As for myself, you can follow me Twitter, Instagram.
When you hear what we think about pronouns,
whoa! Oh God, don't get me started.
gotta do the heels versus baby face, like fucking pronouns. I think about that video like once a week, and I laugh every time.
I'm ashamed that guy comes from the UK. Let me just say that.
Oh, pain. As for myself, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Starlight Andrew. We've been getting a lot more friends on there recently because of the our reintroductions to Star Wars Twitter. So again, thank you for joining us for the ride. Hope you guys stick around.
So much appreciation to you guys.
Yeah,
what?
It's been great. So thank you. I hope it keeps coming. Podcast you can follow on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod for future updates on the show, when episodes will be dropping, stuff like that. As for what else I'm working on, the StarlightJournal.blog. I'm very slowly trying to get some articles out. I just did last month's film journal where I went over everything I watched in May, mainly just me talking about Phantom Menace multiple times, which is okay. And then finishing up some stuff I've been working on for a couple months, so you can check that out. I'm trying to really put some focus on it. The YouTube For the Public Podcast and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to us, supports the podcast in more ways than one. So thank you for that very much. As for what you can find on this feed going forward, we have obviously our weekly Acolyte discussions. We will be getting back. We discussed this. We're going to try and get our next episode of our Clone Wars rewatch done fairly soon. It is the very Kurosawa-inspired Bounty Hunters episode from season 2 is our next one up, so I can't wait for that. And then we have to go back and get to Tales of the Jedi. Not Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Empire.
Tales of the Empire.
At some point.
Tales of the Empire.
In weeks when we have more available days to record, we're going to try and get a bonus episode out for you guys and catch up on what we missed in the very hectic month that was May of 2024. So thank you all for joining us. It went a little long, but it's all right. We have to talk about Star Wars, and this is some good stuff we had to talk about. So we'll see you guys next week. And until next time, for Light and Life, and may the Force be with you always.